Hey, this is Scott Aaron, LinkedIn coach, human connection expert, best-selling author, and podcaster. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today. Varsity Squad, it's Scott Ferguson. We're at episode 116 with my good friend Scott Aaron. Scott is basically I call him a LinkedIn Sensei. The guy is a master marketer. He's a phenomenal coach. He's someone that genuinely cares. He believes strongly in human connection. He believes strongly in rewarding yourself, not taking life too seriously, waking up grateful. So without further ado, here is my good friend Scott Aaron. Time to shine today, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I am super stoked that I have my Jersey buddy, Scott Aaron from LinkedIn Lead Specialist. He's got a podcast also that you've got to check out. I just listened to his last two episodes, 163 and 164, and it's called Network Marketing Made Simple. This guy's forgot more about generating leads from in putting together business for network marketers than I will ever know. So I'm super stoked to bring on Scott. He's people-focused, results-driven. His strategic approach to teaching others how to create wealth online and organic traffic is the game changer when it comes to competing in a saturated digital world. So Scott, won't you come on, introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Blue.
All right.
Because to me, blue equals clarity.
Clarity. Love that, man. Love that. Second question, what emoji do you use most when you're texting, brother?
Depends who I'm texting it to. I would say either, it's probably a tie between three. The red heart emoji, the fire emoji.
There you go.
Or the double high five emoji.
Love it. That's mine, man. Boom. Hey, so let's get to your origins of how you started. Kind of take it back a little bit, how you started and how you got to where you are now, helping people level up throughout the world in the digital marketing world.
Yeah. So again, Scott, just grateful to be here and just appreciate you so much and this opportunity. So I've been coaching and consulting for 23 years. I just turned 41 in April. So I started when I was 18. And I started in the health and wellness industry, actually, as a certified personal trainer and sports nutritionist by accident. My father, who's also an entrepreneur, prior to having our first gym, made some bad business decisions that actually landed him in federal prison for 2.5 years. And at that point, I had to step in as a sophomore in college and 18 and a half years old to take over the gym as the new owner. So I was kind of thrown into the ring as an entrepreneur. So I've been psychologically unemployable since day one. So I've never had a boss. I've only worked for myself. In my career in the health and wellness industry, owned and operated 3 gyms. We sold our first 2 for $1 million in 2003. Ended up opening up our final location in 2004. But by 2009, I was $1.5 million in liability debt because I was the only one left with credit after my father's business mishap. So everything had to be put into my name. But I always tell people, you're dealt hands in life and you can either hold them or you can fold them.
Sure.
And I've never been one of those people to fold a hand. I take it head on, learn the lesson from it, and get better from it. And I found network marketing in 2013. A good friend of mine reached out to me with an opportunity. And like I said, I've never had a boss, so I didn't believe in Ponzi's or pyramids.
Sure.
I dove in head first. It was a health and wellness-based company called Isogenics.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible company, great product, great culture. And within 4.5 years, I amassed over $400,000 of income, built an incredible team. And in the process, was able to step away from owning the gym. And to do that, actually, I had to file for personal bankruptcy in 2016 because I was the guarantor of the lease of the gym. My landlords had no money to fix up the building. When it rained outside, it also rained inside. And I knew that with the thriving network marketing business that I had, with also the new the new coaching practice that I had developed using LinkedIn to help entrepreneurs and network marketers, I had these 2 profitable businesses that were then getting funneled into my business that was failing. And my lawyer said, listen, you're the personal guarantor. The only way out of this is for personal bankruptcy. And it was the best decision that I ever made. Filed for personal bankruptcy July 1st of 2016, closed the gym July 31st, and I have not looked back since. In 2015, about 6 months prior to filing for personal bankruptcy, that is when I discovered LinkedIn, because I remember the driving force behind any business, whether it's network marketing, an entrepreneurial endeavor, coaching practice, whatever it is.
Sure.
Human connection is the number one business building tool that we all possess. And I wasn't finding that through Facebook and Instagram. I saw them more as social entertainment where people were just watching and
Thank you for
looking.
saying that. Yes.
They were just looking at what people were doing. You know, I consider Facebook the barbecue of social media because that's where people go to hang out. Sure. I consider Instagram the reality TV show of social media because that's where people go to watch other people's lives, wishing it was theirs. And LinkedIn is a global networking event every single time you log on. You know, I remember watching something by Gary Vee back in 2019. He said, if you don't have a marketing strategy for LinkedIn right now, you're going to be in deep trouble come 2020. I've been saying that for 5 years. It's just no one knows who I am, which is fine. But those that do have jumped on there. And I started creating massive results on LinkedIn organically, never being taught, self-taught. And then I was able to patent my program, license, copyright, and trademark it, but it also led to a #1 best-selling book. And now I teach, mentor, and consult and coach other network marketers, other entrepreneurs, high-level business coaches, how to leverage LinkedIn organically without any costly sales tactics, using the basic platform of LinkedIn to build their business brand. And eventually, if they treat it like a 401k and not like a lottery ticket, building their bank account.
Love that. You know, Squad, I actually met Scott on LinkedIn. So I'm probably need to level up my life and bring him into it, you know, a little bit more. But I actually reached out. He was grateful enough to come on this podcast. But hey, Scott, what do you think then makes a great coach or a leader?
Someone that actually goes first. You know, this is not to put down people that have gotten coaching certifications because, you know, Scott, you know this, there's people that they go to Procter and Gallagher, they go to the John Maxwell team, and they get these coaching certifications because it's something that, you know, they want to have.
Right.
I was giving a keynote last year in California at a high-level mastermind that was put together by one of my good friends, Chris Harder, him and his wife, Lori, incredible entrepreneurs. Chris has a phenomenal podcast called For the Love of Money. And I was speaking at his mastermind, and I said something that I didn't realize how impactful it was, but I said, guys, what you need to understand, the greatest certification that any of you could ever get is living and going through life yourself.
Yes.
So for me, what makes me such a great coach is I went first. I used LinkedIn to grow my business, to prove the concept, to then earn the right to teach others. That is not saying those people that take those Procter and Gallagher courses or those John Maxwell coaching courses aren't legitimate. They are, but look who went first. John and Bob. Right. They went first. So if you really want to become the best coach, you have to make sure that you've worked out all the kinks in your hoses, because Scott, I can't tell you how many coaches I talk to that are charging $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for their coaching services. Sure. But then when it comes to the mirror being turned around and now they're put in a position to invest back into their business, now their money objections come up. So you have to practice what you preach. Yeah. If you preach prosperity, you always have to invest back into your business.
Right. And the proof's in the pudding with what you have. And that's excellent. So if I'm out pressing flesh, which here in South Florida, we're allowed to do, we're about 75%. So where I'm able to go out and do my networking, you know, in person, if I'm talking somewhere, even if I'm Zooming with somebody, and I'm listening, shut my mouth, opening my ears, what kind of things might people say that would make them a great referral connection, someone that I want to introduce to Scott Aaron?
Well, the best question that anyone could ever ask someone when they're opening a conversation is this: what area of your business or life are you looking to improve most? That question literally opens the door for anything that you want. Because what that question does is that it will then reveal to you what that person actually needs help with.
Reveals their blind spot, right, Scott?
I mean, think about it. How many people, Scott, get on the phone and they just start pitching and selling and talking about their program to someone else, but they haven't done the most important thing. You have to ASK to GET. You have to ask in order to get.
That's right.
When you ask good questions, you're going to get great answers.
We always say, get your asking gear here. Absolutely.
Exactly. You don't want to go out and immediately try to be a hunter. You need to be a farmer. Those that plant the most seeds reap the greatest harvest. So when you ask this question, they're going to reveal to you what they may be struggling with, what they need help with, and then you can build the entire conversation around building up and supporting their pain point, which is going to add more value to them, which is going to make what you do more attractive to them, whether it's picking up a client or, like you said, getting a referral.
Love it. I love it. So, you know what, Squad, Scotty's short on time today, so I got to get to the next couple of questions I want to ask him. And, he's 41, but if you're watching this on YouTube, he doesn't look it. He's very well put together. But hey, Scott, let's go back in time. Let's hop in you're 41, so you'll know this. Let's hop in with Marty McFly and his DeLorean, right?
Scott, it is so funny you just said that. I use the Back to Future analogy literally every week. So continue, and then I'm going to throw in my piece to it.
Back. So let's get in that DeLorean. Let's go back and talk to the 22, 23-year-old Scott Aaron. And what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on him to help him shorten his learning curve, kind of blast through, level up a little quicker?
I wouldn't necessarily say I would go back and give myself tips to shorten the learning curve.
Okay.
I would go back and give myself some credit and a pat on the back.
There you go.
For always moving forward and just to let myself know that I'm appreciated and I'm worth it and great things are on the horizon as long as I keep taking those steps forward.
I love that, man.
So here's my Back to Future analogy.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is I've had people ask me that question and they would say, if you can go back in time,
right,
would you change anything about your journey? And I said, well, let me paraphrase it. Let me give you an analogy with this. If you remember Back to the Future, Marty goes back 50 years, 1955. And if you remember what his objective was to get his mother, Lorraine, and his father to meet. But what happens? Lorraine's father, so Marty's grandfather, hits him with the car instead of George.
Right.
So then Lorraine starts. And if you remember, his whole goal was to get them to have that first kiss at the Under the Sea dance, right?
Right.
And he's standing on stage playing with Chuck Berry's cousin, Marvin. And he's looking at the picture of his brother and his sister, and it starts to fade away.
Sure.
Because he was changing what had already happened.
Right.
So if I went back and tried to change anything, I would fade away. So I appreciate and honor every aspect of my journey because it happened exactly the way that it should.
Love it. So we talk about the dash here a lot, Scott, and I want to know how you want your dash remembered, that little line in between your life date and death date, your epitaph, if you will. How do you want Scott Aaron's dash to be remembered?
So the funny thing is I had a great friend of mine, Cody Schuin, on my podcast, and he wrote a best-selling book called Everyday Legacy. And he talks about in this book how you don't want to wait until you're gone for your legacy to be left. You want it being left while you're still living. Yes. And he then asked me this question. He said, Scott, how do you want to be remembered? So I don't want to be remembered when I'm gone. I want to be known for how I'm still here right now, which is a person of integrity, someone who's genuine, authentic, and real, and truly wants the best for every single person that he comes in contact with.
Got it, man. I am dude, if you're watching on YouTube, we got a whole page full of notes, the genuine, authentic, and real. That's just insane. So, Scott, what do you think? Let me ask you something. So we do have a little bit of time. When you meet somebody new and they're kind of coming in your discovery process, They're not quite a client, but they're a prospect. Is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Well, the one question that it's really funny you asked this, because I have so many people that connect with me on LinkedIn, and they'll send me a note and they'll say, checked out your profile, would love to be connected to you. And I accept their connection, and then I always send an introductory message.
Sure.
So I call it the magic formula. It's a 3-step process. State their name, reason for reaching out without pitching or selling, and asking for a time to talk. So, hey, Scott, great to be connected to you. I saw that you also have a business podcast, as do I. Would love to hear about it, share more about mine, to see how we can support each other here on LinkedIn. Anytime for a phone call. That's it.
Sure. Love it.
So I did 2 things there. Number one, I created the link and the barrier between Scott and myself. We both have business podcasts. So when he reads that, he's going to say, that makes sense.
Done.
That's why he wants to talk. The second thing, I used one of the most important words in the English language, support. It has been proven that your brain actually produces oxytocin, which is the feel-good brain chemical, just by reading the word support, which is going to lower the resistance, and it's going to raise the level of that person wanting to connect with you.
Sure.
But the interesting thing is, Scott, when someone connects with me on LinkedIn and I send them this message and they don't write back. So why are you taking the time to connect with me if I'm then asking you for a phone call and now you're quote unquote too busy to get on the phone? So the best question that any one person could ask, and even ask me, is how can we best support each other?
Sure.
Not how can I best support you?
Sure.
What can we do for each other? Because again, if you follow the teachings of The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles,
baby. There you go.
He says, live in a world of collaboration and creation instead of a world of competition and comparison.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, man.
And that's it. You want to create wealth, start creating, start collaborating, stop competing, stop comparing, and you will create that wealth, which leads to a greater impact.
Love it. Love it. What's your definition of a life well lived, Scott?
A life well lived to me is living a life by design, where there are no limits, there are no barriers. I wake up grateful and appreciative of everything that I have, no matter what I'm going through, and understanding that every single day that I am given, as long as I can open my eyes and I can look at the ceiling above me, I am already on top of the world. So I keep things very simple. Sure. Everyone thinks about, the size of my house and how many cars and all this stuff. If I'm given another day, I am given a new opportunity every single day to do something better for myself, my life, and my family. Level
it up and progress. Hey, we're going to wind things down here now with our Level Up lightning round. You and I could talk 15 minutes, but each one of these questions, they can be answered in 5 seconds. With your timing, you have to. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What's the best leveling up advice Scott's ever received?
I mean, there's been a lot of great advice, but what you think about most often is what you become. And I read that in The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale.
Beautiful.
And that's when I started really shifting my mindset, because the space between your ears, that 6 inches, will either hurt you or help you. So my thoughts are everything to me.
Absolutely. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I have a very, very dedicated morning routine with my wife. We do no business before 10 a.m. We wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. We wake up, we take the dogs out, we go downstairs to work out in our home gym. We come upstairs, we have breakfast, have coffee, and then our day begins at 10 a.m. So my morning is absolutely protected, because those first 4 hours of my day are mine.
Yours. Beautiful. Beautiful. Not the book you're reading now, not the flavor of the month. What's the one book that just rings true to you?
Go for No by Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton.
Yes.
Andrea has actually become a good friend of mine. She was on my podcast. And that book, along with when I was using LinkedIn, it just made sense, because yes is the destination, but no is how you are going to get there. So I appreciate the no that I get from people now more than ever, because a yes is waiting right behind the door.
Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to? Quickly.
So I've been donating to Make-A-Wish for about 7 years now because, being a father, seeing, kids and families get those wishes granted and, the issues that they're going through, seeing just the look on those kids' faces when they meet their favorite baseball or basketball player or take that dream trip. That's everything
Beautiful.
to me. And that's what I want to do for my son as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Last question. Best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
That is real. So this is it's a great question. So I'm a music buff. So it's a layered answer. So for me,
it's got to be 5 seconds, Scott. Come on. Which one is it?
if I had to pick any 10-year, I'm going to give you my 10-year decade.
Okay.
65 to 75, in my opinion.
Okay.
Those 10 years, because then you have the crossover from the Doors, Hendrix, Zeppelin, but then you're crossing that bridge over into some of the late rock and roll. But also the Queen, rock and and then you get into the funk. So that's my answer.
I'm right there with you in that decade, man. Hey, Scott, how can we find you?
Yeah, best way, 2 ways. Obviously, my website, www.scottaaron.net. I'm very omnipresent on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn under Scott Aaron. That's 2 T's and 2 A's, or on Instagram at Scott Aaron LinkedIn.
Love it. And hey, squad, listen, you just had basically a free masterclass from a gentleman who was just dumped into the ring of fire, man, like literally. At a young age, he's unemployable, basically. He's worked for himself. He'll tell you either to hold it or fold it. Might as well freaking hold it and just keep firing up and moving forward and leveling up. He reminds us that human connection is our number one business. LinkedIn is solid. Get on LinkedIn. Get leveled up. Talk to Scott or even talk to me. I can help you out a little bit as well. A leader is someone, and a great coach and a great leader is someone that goes first. Also, give yourself credit for what you've did moving forward. Don't beat the hell out of yourself. Give yourself credit. He wants his legacy to be left while he's living, not when he's dead. So that's a hell of a way to really realize that dash, because he's still living it. Be genuine, authentic, and real, and live life by design with no limits, no barriers. Scott, you're healthy, you're humble, you're hungry, you level up your health, level up your wealth. I appreciate you. It's been amazing. Thanks for carving this half hour. Come on, talk to our squad, brother.
Scott, thank you again so much. Appreciate you, and thank you again for having me.
Excellent. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.